Welcome aboard, everyone who is joining. Um, my name is Vincent Ateka. I am currently working as the Professional Development Director under the Golden Key UJ chapter. And welcome to our event. This is the third event under the Professional Development Office. So for those who are joining, warm welcome from all of us. We're super excited for this. We hope you guys are ready with your books, your pens, and everything. If it's your notepad, whatever the situation is, I really do hope you guys are ready. It's going to be a pretty interactive session, so I hope you've come with some questions as well. So just to get things rolling, please in the chat section, just give us a shout out, tell us where you're from, tell us what you're studying, tell us just a fun fact about yourselves. Yeah, we'd like to you guys to really just be super engaged. We're really excited to have all of you guys here. Um, I'll just give you guys a quick breakdown of how things are going to go. So we're going to basically kickstart the session with a career talk focusing on CV building by our very special and honorable guest, Miss Lucy. She works at the psych ed department at the University of Johannesburg, and she has taken her time out to just join us and help us to develop ourselves professionally. Then I will be conducting a presentation, which is based on interviews. So basically everything to do with interviews, to just give you guys some tips and advice that I think would really help you guys propel your careers and give you guys like a huge advantage when you start going for interviews and stuff, or if you've already started going for interviews as well. Then we'll have a very interactive session with three powerful women. We have Miss Jessica, Miss Rorisang, and Miss Caroline. They are recent TJ graduates. They all finished their degrees between last year and this year. And so, yeah, we're just super excited to have them. And they're going to just give us like lots of pearls of wisdom. They're going to impart the knowledge that they have. And they're just going to really inspire us and tell us about their journey, tell us what they've been up to, how they managed to get there, and why they're so successful at such a young age. I think a lot of us have that whole thing of, oh my gosh, I'm so young. Oh my gosh, I'm so afraid. I don't know what's happening. But they've been able to just, cement themselves in different spaces. So I'm seeing in the chat section, we have Pretoria, we have Centurion, we have Gauteng, we have Cape Town, we have Durban. This is really great. Hi guys, welcome aboard. We're super excited to have all of you. I'm gonna try like shout out everyone. I don't know if I even can. But yeah, guys, just really welcome. Thank you guys for availing yourselves and taking the time out of your busy days. I see Grahamstown. I see Port Elizabeth. That is super awesome. More Durban. This was great. Pretoria. Love this. I see Pietermaritzburg, Joburg. Guys, welcome aboard. This is really overwhelming, actually. Like, I was not expecting this. um, but yeah, guys, welcome aboard. I see Bloemfontein. Welcome. So we're gonna kickstart everything in around about the next 2 to 3 minutes. And I hope you guys are excited. Like I said, please make sure you have your pens, you have your books, you have your notepads, you have everything. You do not want to miss a single drop of information. We are dropping pearls of wisdom. We're dropping jewels, guys. We're really dropping some jewels. So I hope you guys are ready. I see Ladysmith, Durban, Pietermaritzburg. Love this. Guys, welcome to all of you. I hope you guys are excited. I hope you guys are comfortable. We don't want you guys rushing, running up and down, getting hungry within. So I hope you guys have your snacks as well. Yatri from Joburg, welcome. It's really lovely to meet all of you guys. It really is. I think the great thing with having this webinar, like, having online situations that you can really hit a larger market of people. Had this been a physical thing, it would have just been Joburg, essentially. In fact, it would have just been UJ. So I'm glad that at least now we have the opportunity to really just hit different provinces, different cities and everything. I hope you guys are as excited as I am. And yeah. Oh, I'm seeing DRC. I wish I knew something in your language. I don't know. How do you greet in Congo? Please give me like how to greet so I can greet you. I see Uganda as well. That is super awesome. I'm from Kenya myself, so we're neighbors. Love to see it. Welcome aboard to everyone. We should be starting in the next minute or two. Um, We also have an attendee from Zimbabwe. Hi to our attendees from Zimbabwe. Guys, we're even hitting different countries. How ridiculous is that? How crazy is that? God bless the internet, honestly. Kutlana from Joburg, welcome aboard. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, I think we can start in the next minute. I hope Miss Lucy Chirwa is prepared. This is me giving you like a 30 seconds update to just get everything together. I hope that you're super excited. This is actually Miss Lucy's second time working with us. She has been such an asset to the Golden Key community at UJ. We depend on her for so many things. I'm sure that she's tired of me ringing her up, but that's what we're here for, and that's what she's there for.
No pressure.
So,
no pressure.
no pressure. Hi, Miss Lucy. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Vincent?
I'm great, thank you. It is lovely to see you and work with you as always.
Thank you.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself before you start your presentation.
Sure. I'm Lucy, as Vincent has said, a counseling psychologist and a career development enthusiast. I'm very passionate about helping young people, learn soft skills that will actually help them be prepared within the world of work. A lot of the times we, in academic spaces, we learn the hard skills of the content of what we're studying, but no one really fully understands how important it is to, learn soft skills and be updated on that, because actually that is what ensures that you're successful in the world of work. I'm an avid reader. I love reading. I'm currently reading I can't get his name right. Chinua Achebe's African trilogy. I'm on the last book, Era of God. Love, love, love. And I'm a Marvel fan. And I think my favorite genre of movies is actually animation. Absolutely. I'm a big animation fan.
Fun fact, fun fact. I absolutely love Chinua Achebe as well. He's a brilliant author.
Brilliant.
Right. So just a note to everyone who is watching, please do not be afraid to use the Q&A section, sorry. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask during the presentation, that we can also address them at the end. There will be time allocated for Q&A session. So yes, Miss Lucy, this is now your platform. Please take it away. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you, Kamvilishe. Nice to hear from you in terms of when I met you prior to this. I will be sharing my screen with everyone. If I go relatively quickly in this presentation, can we all blame Vincent? Because I was given a time frame. Okay, and it's Vincent's fault if I miss anything. But like he said, I will be answering questions towards the end of the presentation. So please don't worry about whether or not you've heard the information. And I will be sharing resources with you. Vincent, I hope it's possible that I can share resources at the end of the presentation. I'll provide you the resources and you can distribute it amongst all our Golden Key members. As I've mentioned, my name is Lucy Chirwa and I'm a counseling psychologist working at our Center for Psychological Services and Career Development. And today I'll be speaking to all of you about CV writing and cover letter skills. All right, so this is just an overview of what you can expect from this presentation. So let's get started. So kind of silly question, but what is a CV, right? A CV isn't just a piece of paper that is filled with information about what you have done or have not done, but it's actually a professional document that is used to market who you are and to market your brand. So if you submit a CV that has grammatical errors or spelling errors or information that just doesn't make sense, then unfortunately you won't be able to impress the employer prior to them calling you in for an interview. So always remember that a CV is a marketing tool that is used to impress your potential employers. This is also a document that is used to separate you from other participants. So you should utilize this opportunity to outshine everyone else just as much as you would be doing within an interview setting. So as I mentioned, it's not just about outlining the details about who you are, but making sure that the needs of the employer are met, right? So what kind of questions should you be thinking of answering when writing up a CV? These are some of the questions. How do you fit the company that you're applying for? So think values, think mission, think, do you fit the culture of the company? And this will all be based on research. How do your skills match the job description? How do your experiences meet or exceed the minimum requirements? And how does your educational experiences meet or exceed the minimum requirements? So if you're able to answer these questions, you shouldn't have a problem ensuring that you've got the right kind of information within your CV. Okay, number 2, research. Research is very important in all aspects of life. So as academics and as students, as students who are within the academic space, you will notice that whenever you do an assignment, research is an important part of that process. Same thing with writing up a CV. So research helps you understand what the company is looking for, as well as helps you figure out what the position itself entails and what is required for you to outline within your CV to fit that particular position. So where can you do research? The advertisement itself, I usually find when people succeed in being called in for an interview and towards the end of the interview, a question is asked on, do you have any questions for us? Sometimes clients or students will say to me, oh, and I asked the question and I asked, what will I be expected to do? And that is technically an incorrect question to ask because all that kind of information would have been provided within the advertisement. And I know Vincent will go through a lot of that, but ensure that you study that advertisement really carefully so you can get as much information as you can through that. Your lecturers are a really great source of research. They know the industry. They sometimes know people working within a particular company that you might be interested in working in. So ensure that you speak to your lecturers and network with your lecturers so that you're able to get as much information about the industry you want to go into or the company that you want to work for. And again, these are just some of the other examples of how you can do research. All right, let me quickly go through what we like to call at SciCAD the 5 C's of CV writing. Number 1, make sure that your CV is clear, well organized, and logical. 2, make sure that it is concise and relevant. For example, if I had a hobby section or an interest section and I'm applying for a position within the finance field and I let my potential employers know that my hobby is listening to music, I really need to think, is this information relevant and is it necessary for the field that I'm going into, right? Make sure you include all the information that is needed within that particular CV. Please, please do not mix up font styles. So if you choose a particular font, use that font throughout the document. Excuse me. I've heard a lot of students say things like, oh no, but I wanted to make sure that my headings look different from the rest of the document or the rest of the items within the document. Your headings can look different, for example, by bolding and underlining the information. So just make sure that you utilize the same font and the same size throughout the document. The more consistent your document looks, the more prepared it seemed for you to actually create that CV. And always make sure that your CV is current and up to date. You should be checking your CV at least twice a year, or if you're one of those volunteers who volunteers quite a lot, as soon as you get into a new volunteering position, update your CV to show that you have started volunteering, so that you're not updating your CV at the last minute if a request comes through for you to apply for a particular post. Some more and quick suggestions. CVs generally should be maximum 2 pages. We're noticing now even companies are asking for a 1-page CV. Your layout should always be logical. And there are many fonts that you can use, but these 3 we generally like because they're easy to read. So make it easy for the recruiter to read the information within your CV, right? So Arial, Calibri, and Times New Roman, any one of those. So pick one and use one throughout the document. Always spell check and always use professional language. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, even I make the mistake of, when you look at a document for so long, you think it's perfect until someone else reads it. Then all of a sudden you see all the mistakes, that other person sees all the mistakes that you have completely missed. So if you don't have time to spell check with a person, use spell check on the computer, making sure that all the information that you've got in there is spelled correctly, as well as any grammatical apps that are available should you need to have your grammatical errors checked. Justify any sections that have paragraphs, always have a header and a footer. If you do print your CV, print it on regular paper, please. Do not print it on the back of a Mr. Price bill, for example. Like I said, this is a professional document, so be professional, right? Print single-sided should you hand in a physical copy. Know how to utilize applicant tracking systems, ATS systems. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, I will be providing UJ Golden Key with particular resources, and they would be able to distribute those resources amongst all of you. On page 32 of the 2020 recruitment guide, there's a really nice article in there on what ATS systems are and how they can not be beat, but how you can work around them should you apply online and a company utilizes an ATS system. If you are a UJ student, you're more than welcome to drop by any of our 4 campuses to come pick up a hard copy of the recruitment guide. Do not use overbolding or underlining, and use bullet points for listing any responsibilities or tasks. Anything that has a date will always be outlined in reverse chronological order. So you always start from where you are and you work backwards. Always save and send your CV in PDF format unless otherwise indicated by the recruiter. This is just to make sure that your information stays safe, but also if the software that you're using on your computer is different to that of the recruiter, then nothing changes on there and it doesn't look like you were sloppy. So PDF just keeps everything the same. And I don't know if you know, but now it's actually considered a criminal offense if you lie on your CV. You could be fined and or spend up to 5 years in prison for lying on your CV, particularly around sections of qualification. So if you're going to add a particular qualification on there, make sure that you're able to provide some kind of certificate to prove that you've actually attained that qualification or in the process of attaining that qualification. You don't want to be one of those people in prison, all of a sudden others are swapping war stories about how they got there and your reason is you lied on your CV. Okay, so please don't lie on your CV, everybody. All right. This is just a quick outline of what should be included in your CV: career objective, personal details, your educational details, work experience, or any other extracurricular activities, key skills, achievements, excuse me, professional memberships if you have any, interests, and references. Usually interests and references are the first to come out of a CV if your CV starts to be a little bit long. References, I will show you an example of how to write them out in the example CV that's coming up, but you could always just include available upon request if you don't include references. Let's quickly go through an example. Okay, so at the top of this example, I hope everyone can actually see the example. Just give me a second. At the top of this example, Ms. Saneli Siwe's information is included, which includes her contact details, which are her current residential address, her number, as well as her email address. Also, her LinkedIn URL. I'm sure as Goldies, you've all been, you've attended a webinar or you've seen something around LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a nice way to also populate that platform with information that you maybe can't fully include in your CV. So if you can, you utilize your LinkedIn platform as a way of extending the information that you would like to give to a recruiter. Please make sure that your email addresses are professional email addresses, okay? So don't use email addresses like sexybabe34d or hotstar21 as email addresses that you would send to recruiters. I know all of us, possibly when we left high school, we thought we were really cool and we decided to create these fancy email addresses. But again, you are a brand and show yourself as being a professional brand. So make sure that you include information of your email address that is your name and surname. So if you do have one of these sexybabe34ds as email addresses, that's fine. Just create an email address that is professional specifically for applying for jobs. All right, firstly, your career objective. Career objectives should be quick and easy, simple, usually related to the industry that you're in, as well as the position that you're applying for and or the position that you're applying for. So in this example, Sanelisi was within the field of finance. She wants to develop as a professional to give back to the company that she's working for or potentially could work for, as well as her community. Okay, underneath that, we will include our personal details. Any information that you didn't include in the header, should you decide to put your personal details in the header, you will then put underneath this particular heading, right? So if in my header or at the top of the page is my name, Vincent, would it be okay if I just stop here for a second? I seem to be getting a call from my security. Sorry about that.
All right, no problem.
Would it be okay? I'll be right back, everybody.
All right, sorry about that.
Sorry, Vincent.
I do hope, yes?
It's Natasha here. It's gone through some of the chats, and while we wait for Lucy before you take over, I just want to mention we see a lot of requests for the recording. The session is being recorded. It'll be posted on the Golden Key Academy, as well as the Golden Key Southern Africa YouTube channel. So if you go onto YouTube and search for Golden Key Southern Africa, you can see all of the webinars and search for this particular name. And lastly, then I think you have mentioned the Q&A function that they can ask in there. So back to you, Vincent.
All right, awesome. I see Lucy's back, so you can go
I
ahead.
am back. Sorry, everybody.
No problem.
You know, I was supposed to be contacted earlier and they decided to contact me. You've got to love it. You've got to love.
It happens.
You know, I'm just trying to think where I was quickly. Personal details section. Okay, so as I was saying, whatever information you don't include in the header section is what you're going to put under this section. And in this example, an ID number, a driver's license, if you have one, as well as the languages that you are proficient in, will be included. Please do not include languages that you are not proficient in. It's nice to put 30 languages there, but if you go for an interview and one of the recruiters speaks a specific language and greets you in a particular language and you look lost, you would have essentially lied on your CV. So again, don't lie on your CV, just put the languages that you are proficient in. If you don't feel comfortable including your ID number for security reasons, you can actually just include your date of birth. And also, we always suggest not including these items in this box that's just popped up now. And this is just to ensure that you're not discriminated against whenever you submit your CV. So should you want to include a photo, make sure that the photo is a professional looking photo, but a lot of the times this kind of information we say steer away from, just so that you're not discriminated against whenever your application is sent out. Okay, educational details always outline in reverse chronological order. So you'll start off with where you currently are and work backwards. So you can see in this example, Sanalisiwe, her first qualification that's up there is her National Diploma in Accountancy, followed by her National Senior Certificate. I usually say don't include the courses or the majors, because a lot of the times when you submit your CV, you will be submitting a copy of your academic record as well as your matric certificate. So you want to keep your CV as concise as possible. So there is no need to really include the majors or the subjects here. All right, next section, work experience, right? Always include the company, the position, as well as your responsibilities. I find that when people get into work experience or volunteering experience and we need to write down their position or their responsibilities, a lot of the times people feel lost as to what to include there. Whenever you go work somewhere or volunteer somewhere, ensure that you ask for a document of what your duties or responsibilities would be, as well as what your position is, so that you can put that information easily in your CV and you don't have to thumbsuck that information. So you can either fully detail your work experiences and then summarize your community or extracurricular activities. Should you not have work experiences, then I would suggest that you fully detail your extracurricular activities, which would be your volunteering work. And again, anything with a date is written in reverse chronological order. So that means your most recent information should come first. Skills are quite important. Always try to match the skills that you have with what is required in the job advert, and ensure that you include in your skills section software that is relevant to your particular industry. So for example, with a lot of finance students, they utilize Sage Pastel and Sage Evolution. So you will include that in your CV to show that you are competent within those particular, with that particular software. Okay, achievements. Achievements are a nice way to show off. There's nothing wrong with showing off, ladies and gentlemen. Please show off and show, recruiters that you are more than just a student, because they want to be able to see, have you been developing yourself outside of the academic space? And a nice way to do that is either by putting in extracurricular activities or any achievements that you've achieved. And achievements can be both academic as well as extracurricular. And again, and I'm sure this is like exhausting to hear, but anything with the date, always write it in reverse chronological order. Okay, should you belong to a professional membership, please include that. So if you're in the finance field, finance students usually have a professional membership. Psychology students, we belong to the Health Professions Council. HR, teachers, if you have a particular membership, add it in there and put the year that you started, and if you're currently still part of that membership. And last but not least, include references unless you've run out of space, maximum of 3 and a minimum of 2. Please, everyone, do not just put people's names in your CV, ask them for permission, because some people, as nice as they are and as much as they know you, they might not be interested in actually being your reference. So ask for permission first prior to adding that information in the CV. And also some people actually just might not want their information out there, right? But if you do include references, include a name. The name must include a title, the name of the person and the surname, their position, as well as the company at which they work at, and contact details. Contact details should always include an email address as well as a number. And ensure if your CV is more than 1 page, that you've got page numbers in the footer section of your CV. So I know I've gone through that pretty quickly, but if you have any questions, I will be answering them towards the end. I'm quickly now going to go through a cover letter. Some quick tips. Always write an original cover letter for each position and employer that you're applying for. Don't have a generic cover letter, because, for example, if I wanted to work at another higher education institution, I would need to write a cover letter that motivates why I want to work at the University of Pretoria, for example, and not UJ, because these two universities are different. I need to show what research I've done for University of Pretoria and why I think I would be the best candidate to be working there. Always write in a professional manner. Show within your cover letter your career goals, the position that you're applying for, as well as the information that you've researched on the company, the employer's organization. Proofread any spelling mistakes, any grammatical errors, and always check the accuracy of your contact details. So let's quickly go through an example. In the top left corner, you will always include the company's address. Directly underneath that, you will also include the name of the individual you're sending your cover letter to. Should you not know the name of the person, please rather write Dear Human Resources Manager or Dear Hiring Manager, and stay away from saying Dear Sir/Madam or to whom it may concern. Try to make it as personal as possible. Your opening statement must always include the position that you're applying for, as well as where you found out about that particular position. Paragraph 1, this is where you now talk about where you are currently within your educational process. How did you hear about the company? Why would you like to be part of the company? So doing research helps you answer that question, and indicating also what do you have to offer that's in line with the company. Second paragraph, here you mention all the skills, so you can show off here completely in terms of what skills you've gained through activities that you've done. As Golden Key members, I have no doubt that many of you are actually involved in a lot of organizations, even if it's not necessarily the Golden Key. So include all of that kind of information within the second paragraph. So show off who you are and what it is that you can do within the company through these skills that you've gained. And that is done through the third paragraph, where second paragraph, you mention what you've done. And then third paragraph, you now show, these are the things that I've learned, and this is how I can add value to the company that I will be working for through the activities that I've mentioned above. All right, and then end off with a strong statement. Indicate your availability. Don't sound desperate when you indicate your availability. Don't say things like, I'm available 24/7 for you to contact me. Just let them know that whenever they're ready, they can contact you. And then leave your contact details, which should include both your number as well as your email address. With your cell phone number, please make sure you have a professional voicemail, so that if they can't get a hold of you, they can leave you a message. And ensure also that you don't have one of those. I've called students where when I call them, they've got that, press 1 if you'd like to buy this ringtone. I don't want to buy the ringtone. I just want the phone to ring and you to answer it, right? So make sure that you don't have that and it just rings and you've got a professional voicemail in which a person can leave a message afterwards. And also when you answer phones that have private numbers, please don't keep quiet on the one end. That's also frustrating when you answer the phone or say hello, private number. Be professional. You're a brand. So we don't want your CV to say one thing and then when they speak to you, you're completely different to what you have sold yourself to be on paper. All right, and that is me. Just quickly in terms of resources that I'll be giving to Vincent in terms of soft copies. It'll be our 2020 recruitment guide. There's a practical handbook that my team and I actually created that has both a CV writing and an interview section, and we're quite proud of that handbook. So I think that will be quite useful to go. It goes through step by step how to write a cover letter with sections that you can fill in and then combine all of that information to actually write full out paragraphs. A CV writing quick tip sheet, as well as a cover letter writing quick tip sheet that I'll also provide. Should you be a UJ student, you're more than welcome to contact SciCAD to actually have a session with a career consultant to go through your CV. Most institutions have a center, a psychological center or a career development center for people to go through and actually have their CVs checked. So please find out if you've got one and go through and see a consultant who will be glad and happy to actually go through your CVs. For UJ students, we've got a really cool one-stop platform. It's almost like LinkedIn, but for UJ students, called UJ Career Wiz. You can register on the platform. They're really great interviews that I've done with people from industry that have been uploaded on there. You can actually build your CV on this particular platform. You can look for jobs on this platform. So register on the platform so that you're able to access the world of work and have another resource to be able to do that. And follow us on social media because we're awesome. Definitely also, check out our Insta Live sessions on our IGTV, again, with people from the world of work. We've spoken to people about the topics that we're discussing today, such as interview skills and CV letter writing. So you can hear it from people within industry themselves and get tips directly from them. And thank you. That is me.
Thank you so much for that amazing presentation.
Felt like it went very fast.
That's going to be a very tough act to follow, a very tough one to follow.
You can do it, Vincent. I believe in you.
I will try my best. But yeah, that was very informative and very punctual. I'm actually quite surprised. I am very surprised by that. Like, you did well. You hit the challenge right on the head.
Thanks.
So yeah, right now I'm going to be dealing with the interviews portion of this webinar. I don't know why my laptop is acting up. It is taking its time, but I guess good things come to those who wait, right? Awesome, there we go. So, hi again, my name is Vincent Ateka. Just to give a brief background of myself to those who are new, I am currently the Professional Development Director for the Golden Key International Honor Society at the University of Johannesburg chapter. And I'm currently doing my honors in economics. I've been here for the past couple of years, just studying, trying to get this degree. And so this I think, is a conversation topic that is really for everyone. because I think that a lot of the time we don't really get the guidance that we think we deserve. So I figured, why not have an event where we can just give advice and give tips to people and just help people grow and learn and just give people, an advantage so that we can also just go out there and make the most of opportunities. So this presentation will basically cover what an interview is. I know it sounds a bit basic, but I think we do need to understand what exactly an interview entails. We're going to cover the types of interviews that exist, how to prepare yourself for interviews, as well as how to conduct yourself in an interview setting, right? So first and foremost, what is an interview? An interview is basically a formal meeting in which one or more persons question, consult, or evaluate one another. So I think that we have this notion that an interview is basically for the interviewer alone. But at the end of the day, you're going to be working at this institution. So how do you feel about the institution as well? Is it actually a fitting place for you? How can you benefit from it? Are you going to be an asset? Is it going to benefit you in what way? And so on and so forth. So the purpose of an interview is essentially to present yourself as the best candidate for the role and to establish if the organization is a suitable fit for you as well. And so essentially at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you're marketing yourself and showing your potential and why you are the best candidate for the interview or for the job position, right? So now we have different types of interviews that exist. So firstly, we have traditional interviews. These are basically like your one-on-one interviews. It's the interviewee and the interviewer, pretty straightforward, right? Then we have behavioral interviews. So these are basically where the interview process uses your past experiences to essentially assess how you would react in certain situations in the company or the organization. So they basically ask you a lot of questions such as, in such a situation, let's say you were a leader, give an example of where you faced a difficult time, how did you deal with that, and so on and so forth, right? Then we have panel interviews. So panel interviews basically take place whereby there's multiple interviewers and just you who is the interviewee. And so we have different people asking you questions and just getting a more wholesome approach on understanding you as a candidate for the organization. Then we have group interviews. So group interviews basically take place with there's multiple interviewees. So this could possibly be where they make you do like team building activities and you're now supposed to see how they want to assess how you work in a team and just see the dynamics. Are you more of a leader? Are you more subservient? And see how you'd be fitting in their organization. Thereafter, we have phone interviews. So this can be things taking the form of Zoom call, Skype, or the actual cell phone itself. And I think in the day and age that we're in with COVID, phone interviews have been the main way of actually conducting interviews. I know when we were interviewing to become part of the Golden Key Executive Committee, we did conduct the interviews via Zoom calls. So this is essentially just like using technology to conduct the interview. Then lastly, we have lunch interviews. And this is basically like a really informal setting, just you and the interviewer or multiple interviewers just getting to know each other and just a very relaxed environment in general, right? So moving on, how do we go about preparing for an interview? So there's a little acronym, or we look at it as the 4 W's. Now, remember I mentioned earlier that when you're going to an interview, you're also looking at whether the company is fitting for you. Now, when you're preparing to actually go for an interview, introspection is very important, right? So the 4 W's basically stand for number 1, what do you want? So as an individual, what is that you want for yourself? What do you aspire to accomplish for yourself, right? So you're basically looking at your own personal goals. What do you want out of this? And is the organization really fitting for you to achieve what you want to achieve? Secondly, we look at where do you want to be? This is now looking at your future for one, and also the type of locations you like to be in, right? Would you like to travel? What are your future goals? Where do you see yourself in the next couple of years? If, for example, you're in the finance field, would you want to embark on becoming a CFA? If you're a teacher, would you like to end up becoming the Minister of Education, and so on and so forth? So what are your future goals? Where do you see yourself in the next couple of years? Next, you look at why would you be good at this job? So here you're basically assessing your skills and your different qualifications that make you equipped for whatever field you're applying into, you know? So for example, if you're working in the finance industry, again, what kind of programming software do you actually know? Do you use R, do you use MATLAB, and so on and so forth? If you're an engineer, what skills do you have that make you an adequate fit for that particular profession? So it's good to really just introspect and understand what it exactly is that you want out of this. That way it can prepare you for the type of interview questions and also just to conduct yourself in the interview setting. And then finally, you look at who can employ you, right? So when you're looking at who can employ you, essentially now assessing the organization itself. You're assessing the kind of culture that they have, the opportunities for growth that they have, and so on and so forth. So it's important to basically understand these things about yourself and about the industry itself. That way you can, when you're going for interviews, when you're applying for jobs to begin with, you're well aware of what exactly it is that you want out of everything. And it also makes selecting a job for yourself that much easier. Say you get multiple job offers. Now you know, okay, I liked this about this job, or I like this about this organization. Which one is the best fit for me? That can only happen if you actually know what you want for yourself. So now getting down to the more technical aspect of things. The first step, know yourself. This is a bit of repetition, but here are a couple of things. So number one, what characteristics and skills do you have that could potentially advance you? What relevant job experience do you have? And what did you gain from your college experience in the instance that you don't have any prior working experience? So in this instance, Lucy did mention in her presentation that it's very important for you to actually make everything job centered. It must look at that organization and see why you're fitting for that particular organization. So even when you're pulling up different job experiences, you're not going to, for example, talk about how you're great in culinary arts if you're applying to be in the banking segment, because there's nothing which you would really, there's no intersection between the two. So you need to make sure that you understand what you're bringing to the table and how you're going to be an asset to the actual organization, and that is going to be your selling point, which will put you above the rest. Secondly, you need to make sure you do research on the actual position. You need to know everything about the position. That way you understand how your background, your skills, and your experience can make you suitable for the position. And also it will really help you in starting to formulate questions or anticipating questions for the actual interview itself. Then you also need to examine how the role fits into the organization and what your contribution would be exactly, right? So in researching for the position, you basically need to know the ins and outs. You need to know the day-to-day role of the position. You need to understand what is expected of you. You need to understand the kind of hours you'll be working, because you don't want to get to an organization, then you realize that, whoa, I'm expected to work 16 hours a day, but I only want to work for like 8-9 hours. So understand what the position entails. That way you know what you're going in for. And when you enter, you're not going to be surprised by anything that comes to you. Next, we need to also focus on researching the employer and the industry. It's not enough just to know about the organization itself, but you also do need to know what's happening outside of the organization in that particular industry. So you need to understand what the organization's culture is, and do you see yourself fitting into that culture? You need to have an in-depth understanding of the products and services that they use. Because imagine getting to an interview and you don't even know what exactly you're selling or what exactly they do, and you're just hoping to get there and wing it and see how it goes, because it's also going to be detrimental to you as well. You need to understand who their clientele are as well as who their competitors are. And it's also advisable to understand what the organization's goals and philosophies are. So usually, even if you just go to Google quickly, do a quick search on the organization, you'll find their page and you'll be able to understand everything that I've highlighted here. It'll be given to you, So don't be afraid to do your research, to go onto Google. Everything is so easily accessible to us. So we should really take advantage of the resources that we have and try to make a good impression on entering interviews. Now, the fourth portion is to make sure you get your references, right? Now, Lucy did mention that when you're developing your CV or your cover letter, you do need to make sure you have your references. But in having your references, you need to have references that are, again, relevant to the job position. It doesn't make sense if you're going to apply to be an engineer and now you have someone from your primary education who taught you arts, for example, giving them information about you. How is it relevant to the job that you're applying for? Looking for lecturers, looking for people that you've worked with in different volunteering positions or work that you've done in high school, in university, is a great place to start. And also make sure that you're communicating with your references as well. It's important to highlight to them that, listen, I'm applying for these type of jobs. So can you please highlight A, B, and C when they do call you, or in the instance that they do call you. That way they are also able to give information that is relevant, that is concise, and that will make you a very suitable candidate for the job that you're applying for. And then finally, you need to make sure you are practicing. Practice, practice, practice. Whether you are practicing in front of a mirror, you are practicing with your friends, you're practicing with your family, it is very essential that you get used to understanding how to conduct yourself in an interview, right? So a simple method which usually does work is called the CAR method, which basically stands for context, action, and result, right? So if an interviewer does ask you questions, you're trying to be as straight to the point as possible. So you'd give the context of the situation, that way they understand what their situation was. You'd give an example of the actions that you took in that particular situation, and you tell them the end result. So for example, let's say in 2019, I was one of the House committee members. And so let's say that we were organizing an event and something fell apart, right? So I'd give them the background of that. I'd tell them the action that I took. I assimilated people. We went ahead and made some calls. We had some backup plans, A, B, C, D. And then the result is that the event ended up happening and everyone ended up having a good time, whatever the situation is. So you've given the situation, you've given the actions that you took, and you showed the result. This will show people that, number one, you're very quick and straight to the point. Number two, you are solution oriented. And it'll also make it a lot easier for the interviewers to also just take down notes, and it'll make you stand out from the rest of the crowd, from the rest of the interviewees that are trying to apply for the job as well. And yeah, that's basically how you can go about practicing for things, right? Now we move on to the interview, right? So as you can see in this image, you need to conduct yourself appropriately. Now imagine going to an organization and you assume it's a corporate organization. Now you meet someone who's there in a crop top, who's greeting with their foot. You need to understand how to conduct yourself, you know? You need to understand what is the impression that you're giving off. So first impressions definitely count. When you're going for an interview, number one, make sure you are punctual. You need to understand how far the place is, the best route. You need to understand, am I going to be fighting traffic? Take all those things into consideration when you are going for your interview. So be punctual. I think the best would be being 10 to 15 minutes early, so you also have time to prepare yourself and to just conduct yourself and mentally make yourself ready for the interview. Secondly, dress accordingly. If you're going to work in corporate, do not come in jeans and a baggy shirt with a cap. That is giving a terrible impression. You need to wear, even if it's not an entire suit, but dress formally. Dress so that they can understand that you understand the assignment, okay? Next, you need to make sure you greet the interviewer by name, if you know the name, with a smile and give them a firm handshake. This is basically setting the tone of the interview. It's giving off a good impression and you're conducting yourself in a professional way, which will help you stand out from the rest. When you're in an interview, make sure that you're showing enthusiasm and excitement, and also make sure you get enough sleep the night before, okay? When you're in an interview, the most important thing is being engaging. Remember, it is a conversation and it is not an interrogation. And as much as they're interviewing you, you're also trying to get some things out of them to see, are you fitting for me? And is this the right company that will help me grow and establish myself and be in line with the goals that I see for myself, right? And the last thing, which may seem insignificant, but is very important, treat everyone with respect. That means the entire staff from the bottom of the hierarchy straight down to the top, right? Straight up to the top, sorry. So the receptionists, the secretaries, the cleaners, everyone that you come in contact with, make sure you're treating every single person with respect. It may seem like a very small thing, but it really can make you stand out from the entire crowd. Now we're going to get on to the do's and don'ts in interviews. So basically going to be assessing the quality that a lot of employers look for, and also knockout qualities, which are basically qualities that would not get you the actual job that you're applying for. So a couple of things that employers look for, number one, are your grades. Now, we're not saying that you need to be on top of your class. We're not saying that you must be a 90 student, but also don't show that course was bettering you, okay? I don't think employers are looking for people who are just skating by, but make sure you have a decent average. I think something from like, 60s, 70s, 80s if you're a very high achiever and you know that you're fighting day and night and putting in the work. That is something that employers look for because it shows you take your academics seriously and that you're a hardworking individual, right? Written and oral communication. When you are communicating, they need to understand that you know what you're talking about. And this can only happen through your written, and your oral communication, right? So make sure that you are eloquent and concise with what you're saying. Relevant work experience, right? As we stated earlier, no one is looking for you shouldn't add things onto your CV or talk about things in your interview that are not relevant to the post. You need to make sure that everything that you're discussing shows how you are the most fitting candidate and how these things and how your prior work experiences, that is, have enabled you to be a fitting candidate for the position. Interpersonal skills. How do you engage with people? Are you a team worker or are you more of a reserved person? Chances are people want someone with high interpersonal skills because when you're in an organization, you're not working on your own. No man is an island. So it's very important that you show yourself as a confident and charismatic person who can get along with other people. And this can also be shown through your volunteering experiences and so on and so forth. Leadership potential, right? So no one wants someone who's a pushover in an organization. People want, organizations want people who are go-getters, who are assertive, and who are willing to do what it takes to get the job done. So what leadership potential do you show when you go to an interview? That is something that employers are really big on getting. Decision making and problem solving skills, right? Now, when you're in an organization, you're going to deal with lots of clients, you're going to deal with lots of difficult work. So how are you able to navigate through that work? How are you able to break down things and come up with the best solution? And how are you able to work in a team to come to the best decision? You know, those kind of things are what employers are looking for. So try to do a couple of exercises or just practice or learn from now on how best you can build on your problem solving and decision making skills. And then finally, a strong work ethic. No one likes anyone lazy. I'm sure we've all done group work and we hate it when we're caught up with people who basically just write their name and that's it, right? So when you're actually going for a job, they are looking for people who have a very strong and healthy work ethic. At the end of the day, especially in corporate, people want profit, right? And if you don't have a strong work ethic, then you are not an asset. You are simply a liability, and employers do not want a liability, right? Now, what are some knockout qualities? Number one is poor preparation. Preparation includes doing your research about the organization and conducting yourself in an appropriate manner. There's no point in you going to an organization and going for the interview if you don't know what the organization is about. And that is going to reflect through, number one, your answers, and also just how you conduct yourself when you're nervous, you know? So make sure you are fully prepared, that you are confident, and that you know that you can knock it out the park. Secondly, over or under confidence. No one likes anyone pompous, but in the same breath, you should not carry yourself like the world is on your shoulders and like you do not have any faith in yourself. And confidence only comes by actually practicing, by honing the skills that you know are necessary, and by being consistent with everything that you do. So if you feel like you don't have the confidence right now, what skills do you need for the industry you're going into? And start working on those skills. You can go to LinkedIn, for example. LinkedIn has those skills that you can build, such as using Excel, using Microsoft Word. You can go to Coursera. You can do your own independent studying on Coursera. That way you're able to be more adequate in the field that you're going into. Also, reading journal articles, doing your research, reading newspapers so you understand what the market is saying or what organizations are going through, what's happening in the industry. Those are the kind of things that will definitely boost your confidence, right? Uncertainty about future goals and prospects. Now, this goes back to the very first portion of understanding yourself and knowing who you are and what you want. Employers want you to have, even if you don't know every last fine detail, but they want you to have an idea of where you see yourself going, right? So make sure that you reflect and you understand what it is that you want for yourself or the avenue that interests you at the moment. That way you can give them a good and concise answer about where you see yourself in the future. Onwards, poor academic standing. If you're getting 40s and 50s, it is time to pull up your socks, okay? Employers, I stated earlier, look for grades, and poor academic standing simply reflects that you are not a hardworking person. Yes, there are situations you understand where maybe your mental health got in the way or you didn't perform well because of a family crisis and so on and so forth. And in that instance, I guess in the interview, you can kind of allude to that and explain why maybe your academic standing wasn't so good. But poor academic standing is definitely not going to get you that interview. Okay, so make sure you're performing pretty decently. Next is poor personal appearance. Again, you need to dress according to the position that you're going for. It makes no sense not combing your hair, not getting a haircut, wearing your hair out, just looking very disheveled and unprofessional. First impressions count, and if that's the first impression you're giving, then you are definitely going to get the boot and you'll be taken out the door. Nonverbal communication is a very big thing, and nonverbal communication basically is your body language, your posture, how you dress, things along those lines. So make sure that you are a confident person, or that you portray yourself as confident, at least, fake it till you make it, and that you are able to give the interviewers something to look forward to, okay? If it helps, you can also just take just record yourself talking so you can see, am I slouching, am I upright, how am I conducting myself, and things along those lines, right? And then lastly, maybe you didn't do your research, maybe you don't even know why you're at the interview. So you need to make sure that when you're given the opportunity to ask questions, that you are actually asking questions, right? So you could simply ask things about the employer themselves. You can ask, how has the company fostered growth in you? What things have you learned from the company? What are the growth prospects for me as an individual? Do you support further studying? And how do you actually empower people in your organization? So things along those lines could really get you a good review from the interviewer. And also just a caution, avoid bringing up salaries unless you are asked about your salary expectations, but avoid directly asking your interviewer, how much am I going to get paid? Okay, that shows that you're probably not there for the right reasons. Yes, we all want money. That is undeniable, but that should not be the first thing or the biggest impression that you're leaving for your interviewer, right? So this brings us to the end of the interview section. I hope that you guys have learned something and that you're able to take down a lot of notes and that you'll be able to implement these things when you're going forward, right? So at this interval, I would like to call upon our trailblazers, our amazing female corporate queens. So we have with us today Miss Jessica Hendricks, Miss Rorisang Mabukhwani, and Miss Caroline O'Harain, right? So can you guys just please put on your cameras, just give us a wave. There we have Miss Jessica Hendricks.
Hi.
There we have Miss Caroline O'Harain.
Hi, everybody.
And there we have Ms. Rorisang Mabukhwani. Right, so thank you ladies for joining us today. We are super excited and looking forward to all the pearls of wisdom you're about to impart on us. So I think we shall go ahead and start with Rorisang. So basically how we're going to conduct this is that each interviewer, or each panelist rather, is going to just give you a brief background of themselves, and they're going to tell you about their journey. They are all recent graduates from the University of Johannesburg, and they're young professionals really just trying to cement themselves in their respective industries. And I think it would just be great to have people who are our age, who are doing amazing things and are setting the tone for all, number one, youth, then secondly, women, right? Because the future is female, right? So I'd love you guys to just tell us about yourselves and also just get into your story. So we'll start with Rorisang, then we'll go to Jessica, then we'll go to Caroline, right? So yeah, Jessica and Caroline, if you feel the need to put off your cameras, that's okay, totally understand. But yes, Rory, please go ahead and tell us your story.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm Rorisang Mabukhwane. I am currently working as a strategy consultant at one of the big 4 firms. I am also an Alan Gray Orbis Foundation candidate fellow. And yeah, I recently graduated from the University of Johannesburg with my BCom honors in investment management last year. And prior to that, I was doing my BCom finance, and I graduated from that in 2019. So I've been working for 6 months now. It's been a massive learning curve, and I'm enjoying every day of it. And yeah, in a nutshell, that is me.
Awesome. So please tell us about your journey. Please tell us how that transition for you was from university to working. And just tell us like how the entire journey was for you, the process, what did you do to prepare yourself, and so on and so forth.
Okay, I can start with how I prepared. I started applying early. Start applying from March, February for everything. I kid you not, if you only start preparing for your job in October, November, you probably won't get something. So that's how I started. And I also started reading up on things outside of what I was studying to kind of figure out if what I was studying is actually my passion or if I would do better elsewhere. So I'm currently not working in what I studied, and I don't regret it for a day because I'm able to be more flexible than where I would have been if I was working in what I studied. And the transition is difficult. I must say, a lot of people get excited to start working. You know, you're going to get that salary. Life is great. You have time to yourself. You don't have to study on weekends. But I kid you not, the work is gruesome. The hours that are on your contract are not the hours that you're going to work. Believe you me, you work 12-hour days. It is insane. But I'm loving it. You have to force yourself to be out of your shell. And I'm learning to do that every day. I'm actually a very introverted person, but I forced myself to get out there, because if people don't know you, you will fall into the background. So those are massive things that I take on every single day. Yeah, essentially the journey has been great. The people that I work with are amazing. The team dynamic is amazing. I'm learning a lot. I think that's one thing you should be prepared for, that the learning doesn't stop when you finish school. You learn more on the job. I think being able to bring that theory from school into the practical space is pretty interesting, because you learn about all these things, but you don't actually know what they are. You just cram them and you pass your test. But now when you come into the work place and you actually see that, hey, that's what they were saying in the textbook, it makes all the more sense. So yeah, essentially that is it. That is my journey thus far.
Okay, we're gonna get right back to you. Please don't turn off your camera. We're about to have all the
Okay.
cameras shown at the same time. Ms. Jessica, please give us a quick introduction of yourself, and then also just give us a brief background of how your journey has been and how you prepared personally for your industry, because you guys are in two different industries entirely. So was the preparation process different for you, or did it fall in line with Rory's journey? Please do elaborate on that.
Okay, great. Hello, beautiful people. My name is Jessica Hendricks. I work as a digital associate at Organon South Africa, which is a pharmaceutical company. I graduated at the end of 2020 with my honors degree in strategic communications. And so far, so good. I've been working for 8 months now, and it's been quite a challenge, but in a good way. I'm thoroughly, I love this topic so much, because I think you can never be too prepared for your industry and entering the industry. And, you know, my journey really started actually at the end of my first year. And I highly encourage everyone, if you are a student now, start today. Don't wait until your final year. Don't wait until the last few months. It is too late then. You know, and the reason why I'm saying start as soon as possible is that you should actually start by looking at what is required from in the industry that you're trying to enter. What are the small skills that you do need, so that you can start building that up as a student. You know, it would be fantastic if all students started from first year already, looking at what are the job criteria, as well as the description, and just unpacking that, seeing that, okay, this is what's necessary. I need to work on my time management. I need to have skills in Google Workspace. I need to have Excel skills. Start building that up, so that when you are applying for jobs, you feel ready, you feel equipped, because unfortunately, a degree is not enough anymore. I'm pretty sure all of us, we understand that. And when I was applying for jobs, I kid you not, there was a day in the second semester, I sat for one day in ELES, which is almost a student work center at the University of Johannesburg. And I applied to 17 different jobs in one day. And I said to myself, it's not going to end here, you know, because I worked too hard. You know, I've come so far, and I don't want to be part of the unemployment statistics. So it was almost telling myself, like, you're going to do what you need to do to get to where you need to be, you know. And it starts with asking yourself, what can I do today for my tomorrow? And you'll never stop asking yourself that. You'll ask yourself that as a student, and you'll ask yourself as a working person, what can you do today to prepare yourself for your tomorrow? And your tomorrow, that's up to you. You get to decide where you want to be. And just another tip in terms of applying for jobs, be intentional about where you apply to, because yes, everyone wants a job, everyone wants money, but your employer will see right through you if you're just chasing money. Every job that you're applying to, and Lucy mentioned it, you know, do research, and Vincent also mentioned it, do research about where you're applying to, do research on the company. And once you've done that, almost find your purpose in that company. Find what do you want to achieve in that company, whether you are an accounting student, you are a nurse practitioner, you are a digital marketing student, whatever it is, you need to decide what you want to do because your work will speak for you. And if you're passionate about it, your employer will see it. And that's what will really put you above other people. Not in a way that you're trying to compete with everyone, but rather in the sense of it'll show that you actually care about what you do. You're not just trying to do this for money. You're not just trying to do this to occupy some time in your day. No, you're doing this because you actually love what you do. And in the end of the day, that's what everyone wants to do. You want to love what you do. You don't want to wake up every morning thinking, oh no, I have to work. You want to wake up feeling inspired. You want to feel like, yes, I'm about to change the world. No matter what industry you're in, you can change the world. It's literally up to you, you know? So yeah, sorry, I'm going off in a tangent here.
No, it's, you're dropping some really important information, I think. It's especially dealing with, like, you know, passion. I think that's so important because a lot of the time we're trying to chase the next paycheck and we forget that, listen, you need to also make sure in the right, you know, mind frame that you're in a healthy environment. And so Ms. Caroline, as you come on, right, I know that you're someone who throughout your varsity career, you did so many things that you're passionate about. You were in modeling, you're involved with multiple organizations, doing so much promo, even as an HK alone. I think you really did try to change, you know, the tangent of your residence at the time. So first, after giving us a background of yourself, how has your journey been as well? And are you still in an environment where you can say you're passionate about what you're doing?
Okay. Hi, everyone. So my name is Caroline O'Haron. I currently hold the position of PR and Communications manager at RTE Records, which is a leading African, it's new, but it's very fast growing African leading record label. Before this, I worked as a junior consultant. That's where I completed my internship at BCW Africa, an integrated communications company. I had various clients such as CNN, Nedbank, Boomerang, Cartoon Network, and getting into the transition from varsity to working was not easy. It is actually very difficult, but it starts with your first year. That's where it all starts, like Jessica said. So before I get into how I actually transitioned, I would just like to talk about a few do's for everybody that's watching and that's also just looking into now entering the workspace. The first thing you want to do is from first year, you already need to start. You need to start networking. Go for everything and anything. UJ gives so many opportunities for networking events. It has so many clubs for people to join. There's so many things that you can do that you need to do. When there's a career fair, you need to attend that. I would advise you to already get a business card, even if you're not working. That's how you're going to introduce yourself to people. When you get to a career fair, you introduce yourself. You say, can we grab coffee sometimes? Don't go and ask about when are you guys hiring, because you are in a class of 500 people. So what is going to set you apart from the rest of the people who are in a class with you? And then you also want to make use of facilities like PsyCAD. You want to get into community engagement. You want to job shadow every recess and every holiday that you get. So don't spend your holiday binging Netflix and scrolling the gram while you're in varsity. You want to make sure that every holiday you job shadow. Make a list of companies that you potentially want to work for. That's what I did. Make a list of companies, connect with them on LinkedIn, social media, look at who are the thought leaders in the industry, have conversations with them. Before you are out in the work industry, you want to make sure your name and your face is already out there. So when I started in my first year, this is what I did. I came for every opportunity, whatever was there. I just said, I'm doing it. Second year, I was a mentor. I spent 2 months working at PsyCAD for free. That's one thing I also want to talk about. In the start, it's not about the money. You need experience. Because when you start working, a lot of us complain that I'm applying for a job, but they want 2 years experience. In varsity, it's your time to fill that gap for that experience that people want in the working community, if I should say. So then what I did, I worked for PsyCAD for 2 months for free as a receptionist. And the system I used at PsyCAD was the system I used at the job I was working in my first internship, which made it very easy. When I got to my third year, I had to do all my modules first semester, and then second semester, I had to find an internship. So finding an internship was very difficult because I was an international student at that time. So it was the most challenging thing I had to go through. I sent out my CV to so many companies. I always say that if there's no vacancy, you need to create a vacancy. So I take emails of whatever company I'm interested in and I approach them. I applied to so many jobs. I didn't get any like internship positions or whatever it is. I couldn't find a job and I had to start 1st of July. This was 2019. I had to start on the 1st of July. June, I still didn't have a job, and I went to my lecturer and I'm crying and everyone's telling me, no, just go back home. And I told myself, I'm not going back home because I highly believe that I was there for a purpose and a reason, and I really believed in myself, and that was where I had to be at that point in my life. So when I then went to my lecturer, I cried out. She told me about this company, but she's like, you won't get it. You're an international student. You're not going to get it. And then I was labeled, and I told myself, I know who I am. I know who I'm called to be. I know who God called me to be, and no label such as international student will ever limit me from achieving anything that I want to achieve. So I went home that day. I took the email address of the CEO and I emailed her my CV. The next day I went for an interview. I succeeded with the interview, long story short. And when I started working, so many other job offers came. I had offers in Cape Town, Pretoria, all of them. And I started giving the ones I rejected, I started giving them, or I started recommending my friends and my other classmates who couldn't get jobs. So when I started working, it was quite challenging again because I still went through the whole label of being an international student, but I really just stayed humble. I worked through it. I persevered. I put my focus to it. And I really thought that, okay, I'm going to have this internship for a while. I was so confident in myself. They extended my contract. I went on working for about a year. I had this whole plan figured out that, okay, I'm going to work for a year. And then from there, I wanted to go to another continent because I wanted to work somewhere else. And then COVID hit, which was 2020. COVID hit. I lost my job. I went from like the peak to like way, way down. And I went through so much like depression and sadness. And it's kind of the side which people don't talk about because everyone is so focused on becoming successful and achieving. And when we do fall, we are really like scared to tell other people like, it's just not happening for me right now. So that happened. I had to move back home. And then when I moved back home within a month, I again had to build myself back up again, applied for a job again. And with interviews, like Vincent said earlier, I'm never scared of interviews because I feel like I've mastered the art of it. All I needed was the opportunity to sell myself, because you really need to sell yourself when you get an interview opportunity. And it's where I got the job that I currently have. I started off as an artist manager. The role of public relations and communications manager didn't exist in the company I work for. I again created the vacancy. When the opportunity arose, I told them I want to be head of PR in this company. And they created now this whole branch. And we have then expanded to work with global company, which is a record company, Empire. We signed a major deal with them. And now it's like every time you go on a mountain, you get to the top and you need to go down and climb on another mountain again, because currently it's now a thing of, okay, I was faced with being an international student. That was a burden. Now I'm faced with being a Black female in the music industry. Where do I go to from here? What do I do from now? But you need to keep climbing, you need to keep persevering, you need to keep working hard no matter what challenges, and you need to start early as possible. First year, second year, it's like your prime time. You need to make it. Yeah.
Yo, you've dealt with so much. You've really dealt with a lot. I'm so proud of you, everything that you managed to accomplish first and foremost, because like you're saying, we don't talk about our struggles. We don't talk about the failures that come with success, you know? And what you said about the top of a mountain, there's a saying that says the top of a mountain is the bottom of the very next one. So you're really just, climbing that ladder gradually, And so Rory, I want to ask you, because I think you also sort of face a similar conundrum where you're dealing with so much intersectionality, because you're a Black female, and then on top of that, you're also a young woman who's establishing her career. So now when you enter these spaces, how do you deal with that, and how do you build that mental resilience and show them that, listen, just because I'm young does not take away from my qualifications whatsoever?
Okay, so firstly, I am the youngest in my department. I am the youngest in my department, and a lot of people remind me of that all the time. And I am one of the very few Black people as well. So it has been difficult. because people already had this idea of you when you walk through those doors that she's a junior, she can't do anything, she doesn't know anything. I think the biggest thing that I've had to do every single day is show up as my best self, even more on my worst days, so that people can see that I am not touchable, I'm unshakable. So that is the biggest thing that I've done and I continue to do. And essentially what I do to prepare myself and kind of build that mindset is to, number one, surround myself with people who are continuously building me up. I have big sisters, I have my mother, I have my brother, my father, and friends who are my biggest cheerleaders. They tell me when I'm feeling down that, listen, you can do it. You're there for a reason. They didn't hire you by mistake. You can do it. So take that imposter syndrome out the door, because it's not wanted here. So it's basically a conditioning of the mindset, surrounding yourself with great people who are an amazing support system, and also spending time with yourself and learning about yourself, realizing what you're capable of, and thinking of yourself as the best. You can do it. No matter how little you know, put your head down, focus, and you can do it. Essentially, that is my mantra every single day.
Okay, absolutely love that. I really do love that. So now I'd like to go to Jessica, right? So you did have an initiative called Student Shift, right? Which you essentially pioneered in your final year, yes?
Yeah, in my honors.
So Student Mind Shift, what was the basic message behind it, and how do you feel it has helped you to put you in this position? Because essentially you dealt with like giving students that transit between university and working, right? So how did that help you now prepare even better, and what challenges did you face with that that allowed you to be the young professional that you are today?
Well, Student Shift for me, it started off as an honors project. We were tasked to come up with an initiative that would meet one of the sustainability goals, the UN sustainability goals. And I just thought about our country, what's necessary, and education came to mind. But, not your basic education, more your tertiary level education, and how we can bridge the gap between unemployment and employment. How we can position students to really get to where they need to be. So it started in 2020 last year. Well, that is last year. And basically it was aimed to spotlight those students whose journeys look completely different, who decide to take education outside the classroom, those who decide to challenge the traditional learning and really highlight the fact that you're not limited to your class time to learn. You're not limited to your textbooks. You're not limited to your lecturers being the only one that can teach you something new. But really shedding light that the small opportunities such as your student societies, join them, get involved there so that you can get your experience, get involved in your res, volunteer at NPOs, do internships. And as Caroline said, it's very important. This is actually the only time as a student that you should be working for free, because this is where you can get your experience. This is where you're trying to build your work ethic as well, because little thought goes towards the small things that you do. So being a mentor in res or being an HK, some people just think, okay, you're just there for vibes. But actually it teaches you so much. It teaches you time management. It teaches you working in a group, working with different people, working with different work ethics, and how you can really master that, so that when you do get into the workplace, you don't have to start learning these things, but you've already experienced that and you can use those experiences to your advantage. So Student Shift was really aimed at highlighting that and encouraging students to make a pledge. What can you do today for your tomorrow? So that was the tagline of the campaign. What can you do today for your tomorrow? And it's to get you thinking about your industry, thinking about your field beyond what you're told, beyond what you're shown in class, but actually go out and see what you're doing. For example, I work at a pharmaceutical company. I never saw this coming. I thought I was going to work in agency. I was like, yes, Ogilvy, Joe Public, I'm there, And then in my final year last year, after doing this initiative, it really opened me up to see what else is there. And then it really reflected on my personal journey as a student. I started working in 2018 in my second year, and it actually started with me being a mentor in res. as well as going to a conference and going up to one of the guest speakers and just saying, listen, I'm willing to work for free. I just need experience. And she's like, done. You know, and it's not as simple as that for everyone else. I definitely recognize that. But I mean, it's about positioning yourself in those areas, position yourself to network with others, position yourself to upskill yourself, even though you're working during recess, you're working during your holidays. That's where you get to challenge your industry. That's where you get to challenge your thinking. That's where the great ideas come up with. I am in the creative side of things, and other industries may work differently, but nothing differs from the fact that you need to challenge your industry. Industries change, the world is changing, so therefore industries change, and you can only challenge your thinking by switching up your positioning. You cannot expect to change your thinking by being in the same room. Go out into the world, see what's out there, see what you can gain. And of course, one of the key things is stop seeing your classmates as competitors, rather see them as collaborators. So a lot of the opportunities that I had in my undergrad year, I used to bring on classmates. I'd be like, cool, I just got a job, let's go. You and I, we're going together. And to this day, that friend and I, her and I, we're going to be running Student Shift from 2022. And that's all because we opened the door for one another. She opened the door for me in my third year, I opened the door for her in my second year. So really, just start being open towards collaboration instead of just competition. Yeah.
That is very inspiring. I love how you and Caroline especially did focus on the idea of making sure that you are looking out for other people. It's not just your own journey. It's not just about you being the owner at the top of the ladder, eating from silver plates and providing good stuff for your family, but it's about all of us winning. And it really doesn't take anything from you to impart knowledge and to give people opportunities and stuff, So Caroline, I want to come right back to you, right? I can see that we're running out of a bit of time. I don't know if the Q&A session from these, I also addressed them in the last 5-10 minutes. But I'd like to ask you, right? So in light of COVID and everything, and you did mention how you ideally had to go search for these opportunities. What advice would you give to someone who now we're in lockdown? You can't really go to like volunteer, you can't go to organizations, you can't go to all these meetings, right? How would you advise someone to then try to network and try to create those opportunities for themselves outside of sending emails like you mentioned prior to that?
Yeah. Okay. I think one of the greatest things that kind of happened with COVID was just like everybody realizing that the digital age is really the next big thing. For people who are like in lockdown, I like speaking on my personal experience. That's how I share my stories or my advice. So there's so many opportunities. Recently, I have also discovered the art of TikTok and the art of Reels and the art of making money on social media. So I started tapping into stuff like career advice. I now also create CVs for people, create media kits for people. I started a business online, and basically everything is online. With networking, there's a lot that you can do. There's so many free networking seminars. There's so many free opportunities for people online. It just takes you to just go the extra mile, to just search, to just spend, I always say, dedicate like at least 30 minutes a day for your career, like for your future. Your future needs to be part of your daily routine. So you just need to just find the time to do that. But all opportunities right now, especially with COVID, I would say using the digital media is the best thing that could happen, because that's where the world is shifting to.
Absolutely love it. I'd like to thank you ladies for joining me first and foremost, because we're going to close off with Lucy. So before I shut down with you guys, right? To my trailblazers, my female empowering people, I don't know. But I'd love you guys to just give a word of encouragement and just a piece of advice. I will make it under 1 minute, 30 seconds, okay, for each of you, right? So to the younger you, and also to people who are in high school, finishing high school, to people who are finishing university, what advice do you want to give to that person that you wish you got, okay? So we'll start with Rory, we'll go to Jess, then we'll finish with Caroline, then we'll circle back to Lucy, that way we can close off with her.
Okay, to my younger self, get into VAC work programs. I woke up really late with this. Get into VAC work programs, read, not just about your industry, but about other industries that you could potentially be interested in. Read about personal development, learn about yourself before you have to prepare for interviews. You only realize that you don't know much about yourself when it's time to prepare for interviews. Spend time with yourself and learn who you are, what you like, what you'll tolerate, what you won't, what is your standard. So essentially, you go in with a solid head and not scrambling for your strengths and weaknesses a day before your interview. So essentially, that's it from me.
All right, thank you, Miss Jess.
Okay, great. Two things. Be conscious of your habits. The habits that you have really infiltrate your work ethics. So be conscious of how you deal with stress, be conscious how you deal with time management, and just be conscious of your overall work ethic and see how you can improve it. Next thing, I would say, try and learn something new every week. You cannot be the same person week in, week out. It's impossible, guys. Challenge yourself, upskill yourself, grow as a person. Focus on personal development, but also focus on your career. And LinkedIn should be your best friend, okay? LinkedIn is your best friend. Guys, LinkedIn, that's it.
Ditch Instagram, guys, ditch Instagram. Right, Miss Caroline, please drop your pearls of wisdom.
I would say never let your situation, your age, your gender, your color define you. Don't let people limit you. I'd also say step out of your comfort zone, test yourself, go beyond the imaginable, go beyond that, and also learn every day. Learn. There's so many things. Google has free courses. I'll say it again, in a class of 500 people, when you sit in an interview, what makes you stand out? How do you sell yourself? Why are you unique? Go on Google, use their free courses, equip yourself, prepare yourself. Even if you don't have a job right now, prepare for the job that you are going to get in a couple of months when the time is right. Yeah.
Thank you, ladies, so much. It was great reuniting with the HK 2019 team. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your very, very busy days to just come and impart knowledge and wisdom. I didn't anticipate it to go on for this long, to be honest. I was also foolish. So that's a habit I need to be cognizant of. Just. I'm learning. But yes, thank you so much. And I do wish you guys all the best. You are setting the tone for so many young individuals out there. And I hope that what you're doing is not for you, but for everyone else, right? You are telling your story, and by sharing your narrative, you are inspiring so many people. You're encouraging us to just be trailblazers, to be assertive, and to never give in, right? Miss Lucy, if you could join me as we close off. I would also love your input. You are in fact, guys, please forgive me if we go like 5 minutes over time. I feel like this is a very enthralling conversation. I would love to say we'll have a part 2, but we'll see. So Miss Lucy, from your perspective, how can you encourage, or what advice do you give to a university student who's already at the end of their journey, does not have any experience whatsoever? They're struggling to find a job in a pandemic. There's so much going on against them. What advice can you give to that person?
Firstly, if you come to see me, I will be that big sister who will say, and then, like, what was happening for the time period, that you were at the institution? Because I think sometimes it's so easy for us to give advice, but then not remind people that it's real in the world of work, and you have to do things that put you that make you competitive. So if you were sort of lazy as a student in terms of looking for things to do, don't be surprised if it does take a little bit longer to get that experience. Not to say it's not possible. You can apply for things like graduate programs, which are, they know that you don't have experience, so they give you that experience through those programs, as opposed to getting into work straight away. But at the moment, I was looking on Instagram, is it Siakana at UJ, the agricultural plant-based like growing gardens and food for people in the community. I know that students can volunteer for that. Gift of the Givers, you could reach out to the founder of Gift of the Givers, especially with the lootings that happened 2 weeks ago. There's more demand for things like that. If you have a church in your community, even if you're not necessarily a churchgoer or Christian, churches or sort of centers in communities have got relief funds that they do, or relief teams teams that they've built up specifically for COVID. So opportunities are out there, and now it's level 3. It should be a little bit better where more people can be called in to go through and volunteer. And I do agree. I think volunteering is a great way of gaining experience. It's also catch-22 because in one hand you want to get paid, but at the same time you need the experience. So position yourself even in volunteering spaces where, for example, if I am a finance student and I work for Gift of the Givers, find out if they've got a finance department for that particular organization, and go under the wing of the financial officer to learn from them and to see if any opportunities possibly come up. So be strategic about where you're volunteering so that you've got the skills that are necessary to be built for the world of work. And I just want to touch on what both Caroline, actually all three, Caroline, Rorisang, and Jessica spoke about. I'm a plug us here. Please check out my interview that I did last week, Friday, I think, with a counseling psychologist on mental health in the workplace. We don't talk about it enough. We talk about building our skills. We talk about, having the head knowledge to do the work that we do. But what happens when psychologically things are just not going okay? How do we deal with that? So please check out the Insta Live session that I did with Rehabet Base on our Insta Live channel on mental health in the workplace, so that going in, you know exactly how you can be supported by the workspace that you're in, and not feel like an imposter. And if you do feel like an imposter, who do you reach out for things like that, so that you can deal with that and then be functional in the world of work going forward. Yeah. Did I freeze? No? No, I can see Jessica. So somebody froze. Is it Vincent? I think Vincent's frozen.
I think so.
Because I was like, wait, what? We're doing so well. Network, we're doing so well.
Natasha, I think Vincent, yes.
Yeah, I think he's frozen.
Well, who was supposed to go next? If anyone wants to say anything, Kamvalishle, you're also welcome to step in if you'd like to at this point.
I just see here someone asked if I will be getting to the Q&As. I mean, if people are willing to stay on for another 5 minutes, I'm more than happy.
I can say we have time available. The Zoom is available. Okay. So for those of you that would like to have your questions answered, if you want to stay on, more than welcome to do so. Kamvalishle will take over with assisting with the Q&A to read out the questions if you need help with that. But just before you enter the Q&A session, I would like to thank all of you from the Golden Key SA office side as well for this incredible webinar. And it is so close to Women's Month, and you really are inspirational women. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much, Natasha. Now, I'll just read out some of the questions. I think we've lost Vincent due to network, but I'll just read some of the questions here, and then anyone can just hop in to answer whichever of the questions are applicable. I'll read a question from Spogas Nkosi, who asks, how can you tell if some volunteer work will be irrelevant for the position you're applying for? For instance, could volunteering as a child caregiver not be evidence of some of your soft skills that might set you apart from others in the corporate space? Anyone want to take that one?
I can take it. Any kind of volunteer work, it would be great. It's not so simple all the time to be in line with what you're studying. It's not so simple all the time to be in line with what you're studying. That is so weird to hear myself over again. I feel like there's a feedback loop there. So if you do volunteer work outside of the field that you're studying, it's fine, because the point is about building soft skills. I mean, being a childminder or caregiver is a lot of work. You need patience. You need to be very organized. And these are things that will possibly be needed in the world of work that you're going into. As Rorisang mentioned earlier, if you're working many hours at a particular job, as you enter the workspace, things like that can only be learned through working many hours in organizations that are outside of an academic space. So don't knock the soft skills that you're learning within wherever it is that you're volunteering. So don't knock the soft skills that you're learning in wherever it is that you're.
Thank you very much for that, Lucy. It was a very, very helpful answer. Let me take another question here from Mr. Andrew Liu. He asks, is it appropriate under references to rather have only their names and titles and state space of contact details to be provided upon request? And then he writes in brackets, as when the recruiter requests the info, you are able to inform your references to expect a call from the recruiter. So can anyone maybe provide a bit more clarity on the CV writing, how to kind of structure that?
I'll just say from my perspective, what helped me was I included their title, contact details, name, as well as the position I had there. And obviously informing the person beforehand. When you're applying for any job, inform your references that you're using them as a reference and actually get their permission, because the last thing your references want to get is, I don't know who this person is. I mean, they worked with us for 3 months, but who are they? What did they do? Instead, you want the conversation to go in the lines of, Jessica worked for us for 3 months and she was able to do so much. She was able to do this, and she's an eager learner and things like that. So my advice on the references, get their permission and provide the contact details as well as your position at that company.
Thank you very much. I'll take another question from Nokwanda Ngwenya. She asks, how do we handle the first impressions and greetings on a virtual interview? I guess this is more in line with how do you set the tone for an interview, setting the bar. Anyone want to maybe take that one?
Yeah, I guess I can take it. First of all, sorry, UJ Wi-Fi did me dirty, but it's okay. We bounce back. So basically with a virtual interview, the moment that your camera goes on, in fact, even before, you need to make sure that number one, you're dressed absolutely appropriately. They must be blown away. And it's still the same thing. You must still enter with a positive spirit, with a smile. You must make sure you greet everyone. Etiquette is not simply something that you practice only in a physical space, but it still takes precedence even virtually, So for example, you must still be confident, you must still be eloquent, you must still be respectful and mindful of the space that you're in, Even if the top is dressed professionally and you're still wearing sweatpants, you must still conduct yourself accordingly. Yeah. So it's not something which is limited to just you being in the same physical space as a person, but virtually it can still be practiced.
Thank you very much, Vincent. I know we've got another question here from an anonymous attendee.
Can I just add to that, Kambilishe? Just
of course.
To add to what Vincent has said, your background is also quite important. So we don't want to see dirty socks and dirty pots and, whatever room you decide to go into, ensure that the background is a simple, clean background. You don't want your interviewers to be distracted by what's going on behind you, or for you to be distracted, for example, if a window or a door is open. So just let the people within your house, if you're living with people, let them know, listen, I've got an interview, it'll be about this long. Please, can you just keep quiet so that I can focus on the interview? So you don't want to physically look nice and then your background is a complete mismatch to what you physically look like.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lucy, for that insight as well. Let me take 2 more questions. I've got one question here that asks, as an undergraduate, how do you market yourself? How do you go out looking for part-time employment?
I think Ms. Caroline can take this, yeah?
Yeah. Okay, so as an undergraduate, how do you go out looking for part-time employment? So what I did when I was in varsity, I always made sure like monthly, I at least attend a couple of networking places. It doesn't matter what it is that I always, as long as it was informative and as long as I was able to say that it related with something that I want to do. So you have to attend places. Being shy in this industry is just something that cannot happen. So you need to put yourself out there. You need to go introduce yourself to people, start up conversations. It doesn't mean that you need to go and say, hi, are you hiring someone? But you need to understand it's a building process. You build it up. Also connecting with people on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is very powerful. It's a very powerful tool. And then also just checking people on Twitter. I remember a friend of mine, there was a very big ad agency that she was very passionate about, and she just used Twitter to get her job. She just asked them, hi, when am I going to start working for you? And that's how she got her job. So it's important to be creative and very like different. So don't do things that everybody else would do, but just make sure that what you do suits you, it suits your personality, and it will make you stand out.
Aha. No, thank you very
Can I
much.
add on to that? Can I
Yes,
just add on
please
to
do.
that? Just to follow up on that with LinkedIn, especially also with Instagram, a lot of these industry leaders, they have these live sessions, and just being in those comment sections puts a name for yourself. I'm not saying you're going to get a job, but I'm just saying this is about branding yourself, positioning yourself for that opportunity. And in addition to that, also think about when you're applying for a job, something that makes you stand out is saying what you would have done differently. So in our industry, well, my industry, we work a lot in campaigns and initiatives. So if I'm trying to target a brand, what I would say is, I would have done that differently, and I would explain why. And then that would show them what I have to offer. So be practical about what you can offer.
No, thank you very much, Jessica.
Can I add on one more thing?
Of course. Go ahead. Of course.
You know, I think in marketing, and it's great, all these examples that both Caroline and Jessica have utilized are wonderful, but I think people forget where you start. Your lecturers and fellow students, you know, speak to your lecturers, speak to tutors. What do they know? Who do they know? Your neighbors, your family members. Because especially now with people not being able to physically go out and see anyone, who's literally right next to you, who can who can provide some kind of information that you're also looking for. So utilize the list, you know, family members, who can I speak to, friends, who can I speak to, which lecturers can I speak to? Okay, let me now go to social media and all the other networking, social, you know, networks. Who then can I make contact with? So don't be afraid to know your lecturers. They're not as scary as you think they are. And when they see that you're interested, they go, oh, actually, I know Lucy is looking for a job in this industry, and I know someone who's looking for somebody. Let me connect them. Because a lot of job opportunities are also found in the hidden job market. So which means you're not physically applying for a job, but it's actually found through connections, through other people, through your network. So utilize your networks, everyone, to be given those opportunities. Just in addition to what Caroline and Jessica said.
This is truly a wealth of informative information we're getting here. I see there's one question directed specifically to Rory Sang. It's from Rosario Oliver. What advice would you have for students to make the shift easier or more manageable on entering the workplace?
Start by asking a lot of questions. Ask anybody about anything. Because you obviously don't know what to expect. You don't know what you're walking into. So ask questions. Leverage LinkedIn. Find the people that you work at the firms that you want to work at, and get into their DMs. People are much nicer than we think, and they can give you a wealth of information about the industry, about how working at that particular firm is. So yeah, ask questions. And also, I think getting into a good routine as well, because you find that as a student, you wake up at 10 o'clock, you sleep at 2 a.m. Get into a routine where you're waking up at 6 o'clock, getting yourself conditioned for that 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 job, and also include in that routine exercise, time to rest as well, because that is of utmost importance to keep your mindset in check when you are transitioning from school to work.
Well, thank you very much, Rory-sang. Let me give one more question to Lucy. There's a lot of lovely questions here. I've got a question from Itumeleng, and Itumeleng is asking, if the job advertisement did not specify to attach a cover letter, is it safe to include it? And if it is required, do you submit it as a separate, or do you attach it or merge it in your CV?
That's a good question. So usually cover letters are requested by a job post. So they'll say submit a cover letter with your CV. So if one hasn't been requested, it's unnecessary, because generally then recruiters don't read them. If you're still not sure and you feel like maybe I don't have the experience, but I really want to motivate myself, because that's essentially what a cover letter is. It's a motivational letter for that particular position. call up the agency and say, I would like to write up a cover letter. Would that be okay? And just get the feel from what the individual would say. What was the second part of the question?
The second part of the question, let me just bring it up for you again.
Oh, do you separate it?
Yeah, do you separate it or do you attach it or merge it in your CV?
Yeah, so usually it's merged in your CV. So you'll start off with the cover letter and then your CV follows after that. So in total, maximum, if you all three together, or all of the pages together, 3 pages, with your CV being a maximum of 2 and your cover letter 1. Otherwise, your cover letter is 1 page and your CV is also 1 page.
Got it. No, thank you very much, everyone. I see the rest of the questions are fairly repetitive. And looking at the interest of time, perhaps let me end it off here. So let me take this opportunity to just thank everyone for coming to join up in this webinar. It's been quite a long one, but I think it was a very informative one. I personally made a large list of notes here on my side right here, writing things down with the do's and the don'ts, the CV writing, the interview itself, taking up opportunities even in your undergrad while you're still studying, looking at what you can do to build opportunities for yourselves. Really a wealth of information. So I want to take this opportunity to thank the panelists, each and every one of them. Thank you, Vincent, as the host as well, for doing a fantastic job, and everything to you guys as well for joining the session. We really, really do appreciate it. And we really hope it was strictly informative, very helpful, and very insightful. I do wish you guys each and everything of the best in your own personal ambitions as well. May you guys really be equipped with the knowledge and information to pursue everything that you want, and to also be granted the grace to achieve everything that you guys are looking for. But from my side, Kamvelihle Matikizela, the president for the Golden Key Chapter and Society, I'd like to wish you guys a very pleasant and fruitful night. Safe wishes to you guys and your family. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.